present.
Okay, it's an honor for me today to introduce our speaker, Colonel Phil Miller. He's a full-time Chief of Staff for the Kentucky National Guard Joint Forces Headquarters. And also, Colonel Miller and I have been in the military in Kentucky for many years. He's a good friend of mine. Colonel Miller has served more than 40 years in both the U.S. Army and the Kentucky Army National Guard, and is a veteran of Operations Desert Storm, Iraqi Freedom, and Enduring Freedom. He's had service in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, and Iraq. Over the years, he's had extensive deployment in Latin America, overseeing the Kentucky National Guard's partnership program with Ecuador. And he's also participated in U.S. Air Force airlift operations in Bosnia, Somalia, Rwanda, and the Congo. He's a graduate of Eastern Kentucky University with a degree in journalism, and he has a master's degree in National Security Strategy from the U.S. Army War College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. So, Colonel Miller.
Ladies and gentlemen, military veterans, just want you to know I'm honored to be with you here in Shelbyville today. And this, what we all know to be a day of remembrance, a day of honor, a day of thanks. Now, before I start out here, I'd like to say that we as leaders in the nation's military spend a great deal of time mentoring our subordinates in what is interesting and what is important. Sometimes the two merge, but it's important to know the difference. It's important and interesting that the weather is so mild here for the ceremony today in Shelbyville after the last 2 days that we've had. I'm very thankful for that. It's very interesting that this morning in central Iraq was 116 degrees. And in southeastern Afghanistan, it was 106. It's important to know that it's still springtime there. And here in about a month, it's going to be about between 120 and 130 degrees every day. And I'm telling you this from personal experience. And those are the conditions that our fighting men and women will be dealing with on a daily basis. It's also interesting that over the years, and back when I was Sergeant Miller, and I had Captain Green as my commander, and I served on his helicopter crew, and after all of my antics, it's interesting that he would invite me here today. But it's important to know that I will be brief in my remarks. Now, if you've seen in your program, this was originally established as Decorations Day on the 5th of May of 1868 by General John Logan, the National Commander of the Grand Army of the Republic. And Memorial Day was first observed on the 30th of May, 1868, when flowers were placed on the graves of both Union and Confederate soldiers at Arlington Cemetery. There's many stories as to the actual beginnings of Memorial Day, and I guess it's kind of like the enduring version of Wikipedia. It's where people to go on and they modify the history or revise history. But what's important to know that some historians say it was first observed by the families of fallen Confederate soldiers, while others insisted it was established by the survivors of Union casualties. And as you wander these grounds here, especially down over the hill here, you'll see that our legacy exists, and that's where our Union and Confederate ancestors are buried alongside each other, and alongside the veterans of the wars that followed, as well as alongside the loved ones who waited for their return. And that, my friends, is a tradition that brings us here to Shelbyville today. The members of VFW Post 1179 here in Shelbyville also have a great tradition, and that's of placing flags on the graves of our nation's fallen in cemeteries across Shelby County. And we see their devotion and duty here today as well as across the county, and they certainly deserve our thanks today. Roger, I want to applaud you. And all the members of Post 1179 for taking that time to do that. So as we gather here to remember the memories of the fallen, honor the memories of the fallen, a piece of us struggles to understand the meaning of such sacrifice and loss. President Franklin Roosevelt wrote of those who died in the service of their country that they stand in the unbroken line of patriots who have dared to die that freedom might live and grow and increase its blessings. Freedom lives, and through it they live in a way that humbles the understandings of most men. We will forever be in debt to the volunteers of the war to end all wars, World War I, and of the young warriors of the greatest generation who gave their lives in World War II, as well as those who have fought for our nation and for each other in Korea, Vietnam, Grenada, Panama, and the Persian Gulf. And we must continue to remember that we are again a nation and military at war. Today, millions of people across the nation will take time to remember and pay their respects to loved ones and fellow Americans who have lost their lives while serving our great country. And this year, as America fights in Afghanistan and Iraq, more names have been added to our nation's roll of honor. Each name represents the loss of a life full of promise. But behind every name can be found a family, a circle of friends, and a community that will never be the same, but will be forever united in a cause greater than oneself. We are faced with a grim reality that we are indeed in a long war with an enemy determined to destroy freedom throughout the world. Extremists who have a goal of destroying the civilizations of free Americans and free people. On this Memorial Day, please remember it is for one reason that we are the land of the free, and that is because we are indeed the home of the brave. And thank you so much, and I salute you all.
Okay, thank you, Colonel Miller. Okay, next we'll have some special music by Jim and Jerry Morris.